Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tina and you're watching Tina.Fandoms. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my April plans for NaNoWriMo. If you're not familiar with what that is, basically in the month of November, you write a book from start to finish. You have the whole month to do it. If you calculate it and you're writing about 75,000 words, that's about 1,800 and something words in a day, and you have to keep that up every day consecutively for the whole month of November, and then you finish your first draft of your book. Many people across the globe participate in this event. NaNoWriMo actually has like an official website, which I'll link in the description, where you can go to and you can sign up and you can keep track of how much you've written every day and you can see how much your friends have written. It's a good way to finally sit down and get your book written. At least for me, the ideas are stuck in here and I'll jot things down here and there, but I never actually sit and write. I want to say it's because I don't have the time, but realistically, I could make some time. I just choose not to, and instead I play Merge Dragons. So I did participate in NaNoWriMo back in November. I just didn't end up going through and finishing up with the month. I ended up writing from the 1st of November all the way to the 9th, so just over a week, and I only wrote about 20,000 words. I wrote 30,000 words. So I do have progress in my book. I've had this idea in my head for, I want to say about 2 years now. I've actively been wanting to write this book. I've actively been thinking about it even now. I'll tell you a little bit about it in just a moment. In November, I'm a university student, and that's when like exams and assignments and essays are all due. So I remember putting time aside to get my writing done, but then it was just becoming too much of a hassle and I wasn't enjoying what I was writing because I just needed to get something down. In the beginning, and at least it's my opinion, that the first draft, it's more about quantity than quality, because then you can go back and you can fix things up and take things out and put things in after you have like the first draft done. I was just writing nonsense. So that's why I didn't end up going through with it in November, but now it's April and I have the majority of my schoolwork done. I still have a few assignments and a few exams that I still have to write, but that's like I have time to do it since I'm living in the quarantine life. So now I actually have time to sit and write. Now my novel that I started back in November, I actually have been working on it for about 10 months now. So back in May of last year, I actually got the idea to write this book. Zayn Malik's cover of that Aladdin song, A Whole New World, came out back in May of last year, and the second I heard it, I started bawling my eyes out and I was just dying, and then I got the idea to write this book. I remember for the first few weeks, I had this, that I was writing the book, or I was writing plot ideas for the book. I had my headphones in, I was listening to that song on repeat, and I was just listening to that over and over and over again while I was writing down ideas for my book. And I didn't actually start writing it until maybe June, July. Around that time is when I actually sat down to start writing. And I wrote a little bit, I took a break, wrote some more, took a break. I ended up probably with 40 solid pages of work, and I let it go. I didn't write for a few months, and then November came around and I started writing again for the month, but only, like I said, for those 9 days. And then school happened, and here we are now. I haven't picked up my book since November. Today is actually the 31st of March, so tomorrow is the start of NaNoWriMo. And I haven't looked at my book, I haven't looked at my first draft, sorry, since November. So I need to get on that when I'm done this. NaNoWriMo in April is a little bit different than in November. This month is about getting all the finishing touches of your book put together that you didn't get back in November. So it's like finishing your first draft. But since I don't have my first draft done, or even close to done, I am going to go back. I'm going to dedicate the first 2 weeks of April. So about until the 14th of April, I plan to use those 2 weeks to really get some ideas solidified. So I did have an outline, but it wasn't like a completed outline. It wasn't very structured at all. It was just little points about different plot points I want to happen in the book. However, I didn't even stick to that, and I kept changing things up, which kept changing up my outline. So I stopped looking at it. I didn't really like use my outline by the end of my writing process. I want to start looking at the draft that I have, not necessarily reading and revising it. I just want to look over it and skim it a little bit. And then I want to put together a couple of plot points that I want to write about for the next 2 weeks. And then I am going to, for the next 2 weeks until the end of April, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write whatever I decided to write in the first 2 weeks. My goal on how much I want to have written by the end of April is 20,000 words. Now, that's not a lot by any means. That's not going to finish my first draft, but that's not my intention right now. My intention is to get back into the groove of writing, to find my inspiration again, and to continue moving forward and actually get something written, which will hopefully then carry on into May, June, and July. I don't have like a due date for when I want to finish my first draft. I just want to, it's like a work in progress, so I want to see, maybe by the end of the 2 weeks, I'll get a better idea on how long I think it'll take me. But for now, I don't have a date that I want to finish the book by. Now, what is my book about? High fantasy with royalty and magic. The one thing I will say is that there's no fae. There are other magical creatures, but not fae. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I go about my writing process and what that looks like. I feel like most of my good writing happens around 1 a.m. and that's for everything. That's for essays, that's for short stories, fan fiction, literally anything that I write. I feel like I write better at 1 a.m. So I'm going to wait for it to get dark outside usually. And I like to turn my lights off, and I have fairy lights that I like to turn on, so there's a little bit of light. I like to sit on my bed in comfy clothes. Maybe I'll have tea or coffee, and I'll just start writing whatever comes to my mind. I like to free write a lot, so I'll put the timer on my phone for 10 minutes, and I'll do 10-minute writing sprees until I reach a certain goal. Usually, if my goal was to write the almost 1,900 words per day, for the 900 words I would do that. I would do 10-minute sprees of writing until I met that goal, and then afterwards I would go in, I would fill things in, and then I would perhaps write a little bit more about what I wanted to write next. Usually I'll listen to music when I'm writing it. I'll listen to Zayn Malik's A Whole New World. Usually that's like my favorite writing song. So normally I'll listen to some, like I have a playlist on Spotify. I'll play it mostly Zayn Malik, like I said. Other than that, I only like to listen to the music when I'm writing like normal scenes, or if I'm outlining. I love to listen to music. But if I'm really in the groove, I feel like sometimes the music can get a little bit distracting. So if I'm really in it, I'll turn it off, and then I'll just like free write. Like I'll write. So that's basically what my writing process looks like. It's not anything unique. I am really excited to actually sit down and write again. Now that we're in quarantine, I've been wanting to, but I haven't actually had the time because I've just had so much schoolwork to do. But now I'm dedicating my April. I'm going to get a good portion of this book done. I'm going to get back in the writing groove. Thank you for watching. My name is Tina again. If you'd like to subscribe or like or comment, you can do that below. I post videos every so often.